evening. I started with a little bit of nervousness after I heard all the wonderful speeches that came during the day. And then I realized that there is no way I'm going to match up to the quality of the speakers. And given that you've all chosen to come here and said you don't have a choice to walk out, so the next 18 minutes, whether you like it or you don't like it, I'm going with the flow and I've unlearned the pressure. I start with this Sherlock Holmes type title, The Curious Case of the Missing Accountant. I want to go to a little bit of history. Where did we start as a human race? Writing was invented by the Sumerians somewhere between the 3500 to 5000 BC. I think I should say the other way around, 5000 to 3500. And the first word ever written in human history was Kushim. Kushim was not a ruler, was not a poet, was not a prophet. Kushim was an accountant. So writing, which laid the fundamentals of everything we've achieved, economically, sociologically, whatever we stand today on the shoulder of. We stand on the shoulder of Kushim, an accountant. Come a little more closer home, my own story. I come from a very sheltered family. When I completed my chartered accountancy, I was called for an interview and I had to go to Bombay for an interview, and it was my first, the company gave me a flight ticket, it was my first flight alone to Bombay, and I was so nervous about the flight. I didn't even know how to put on that safety belt on the flight. My father, it was those days, I think many of you may not have been born at that time. My father actually took a train. We couldn't afford the flight ticket, so he took a train a few days before, went to Mumbai, and then came to the airport, and then took me from the airport to Churchgate. So that is how I started my life. And today, I can say that I have almost every major country stamped on my passport. And a lot of it I credit to my degree, me being an accountant, and I'm sure it will be true for all of you. The foundation that you start with, the degree that you earn, that sets you, that gives you your identity, that makes you the person that you are. So I am a very proud accountant. But then, what is an accountant doing on this stage here? And what right do I have that I can stand here and talk to all of you about unlearning? I guess I don't. And it is not just me who is saying it out of some humility. That's what the World Economic Forum is saying. The top 5 jobs that are going to become extinct by 2030, just 5 years from now, one of them is accounting. So here I am, and millions of accountants around the world who are trying to unlearn our own accounting to figure out what we can do with our lives. And as we are going through this journey, we have created like a survivor's guide, and some of it I'd like to share with you, hoping that it may be useful for you. I have 5 concepts I want to talk about. The first concept is relativity, not Einstein's theory of relativity. I am very poor in science, but this relative grading, and one of the speakers spoke about it earlier as well. So I come from that background where coming first was everything. So much so that when I did my chartered accountancy has a foundation, inter and final. I came all India ranked 2nd in CA foundation. So then everyone peps you up, and then they say, oh, now you're inter, you have to come first, you missed first by just so many marks, and that was so caught in my head that when I cleared my CA inter, I cleared with the 48th rank. Now the pass percentage in CA inter is 5 percentile, which means if 100 people write, 5 people pass. So while all my friends were out there celebrating that they had passed, some of them had passed half the papers and they were celebrating, I was sitting at home and crying that I didn't pass with the first rank. That was the grooming that I had. And when I came into parenting, I carried that same aggression, same grooming, and the society plays its role. Oh yeah, your son son, he's sitting in the audience, he will definitely score very well. And we realized that he learned differently. He had a learning condition. Some ways it was a boon for him. So for example, he gave an English paper in a 6th standard in which he failed. But then immediately after that, he gave an English Olympiad and he came like 4th in the country. So his learning style was very different because of his ADHD. And as he went through that journey, I realized that my own notion of learning, of what makes you who you are, is so flawed. And that's when I started unlearning how he could cut out the noise. Even today, sometimes he gets boxed into this world of grades and you need to be here and you are not here. But the way he was able to filter out the noise and the way he was able to focus on what really mattered to him inspired me to focus on what really mattered to me. So sometime during my career, about 7-8 years back, I was actually the CFO of one of the business units of Wipro Limited. Wipro Limited is the IT arm of the Wipro group. At that point in time, it was an $8 billion group, and I used to be the CFO of one of the verticals. It was my second role as CFO. There was an unlisted Wipro company, which was much smaller in size, and an audit head role opened up. Somewhere in my mind, I felt that I have done the CFO role enough. I needed to learn a new skill. And so I put my hands up and I said, I will take the role of the audit head for Wipro Enterprises. There were a lot of people who came and told me, saying, when you built a career as a CFO, why would you want to take a role which is A, completely adjacent, and B, is not something that typically a CFO would choose. At that point in time, that learning from my son that what I want to do has to be determined by what are the skills that I want to learn. So that is when I picked up this role. And the best part of that role was, as I came in, I went in as the audit head, and then they said, will you do ombuds? I said, fine, I will do. Then a role came up which was adding digital transformation on top of what I was doing. So I said, okay, fine, I will do. And this little add-on, the flexibility that that role gave me, actually landed me my current job, which is frankly my dream job since the day I started working. And I do feel that if I hadn't taken that risk and taken that job at that point in time, maybe I would not have been here. The second concept I want to talk about is this debit and credit. Don't worry, I'm not going to bore you with the accounting lessons. Our mind is very framed to match the balance sheet. For us accountants especially, we get a big zero if the balance sheet doesn't match, and we get full marks if it matches. So, for example, if your parents bring home 3 chocolates and they give 2 to your sibling and 1 to you, your immediate thought process is, why did he get 2 or she get 2? Because we are always in our mind framed to think that equal effort should get equal reward. And one of the speakers spoke about it. It is not always true. And I want to take the most starking example here. Recently, there is this 24-year-old AI engineer. I may be pronouncing his name wrong, so please forgive me for that, Mark Dyke. He is supposed to be a very capable AI engineer. So Meta went and offered him $125 million package for a 4-year contract with Meta. And interestingly, this boy declined the offer. Then Mark Zuckerberg went and met him and told him, fine, I will give you $250 million. And apparently he said it was too good to resist, so I'm taking the offer. What makes an AI engineer, there may be engineers that may be coming out of his college, they may be coming in at a salary of 250K. What makes someone's value from a 250K to 250 million? Here, I want to talk about Steve Bartlett. He has written this book called Diary of a CEO. He calls out something very unique about skills. He says all skills that you learn are irrelevant. The value of your skills are based on the context in which you apply those skills. The perceived and and the point to stress here is perception. The perceived value of the skill is determined by how one feels, how scarce that skill is. And finally, he says that a person will pay a value for the skill based on the value they will derive from that skill. So again, I want to take my own example. So there was this project that I was asked to do where I was nominated as the finance business partner for a center that Unilever was setting up in Bangalore, 2,000-seater center. I had to do the business case, company incorporation, all the boring stuff. And as part of that role, we had to build a facility here. And we realized, and if some of you have experience in understanding GCCs, you will know that the most important cost in the GCC is the cost of the center. So then I said, why not I come into the design of the center? So I actually sat down with the architects and we co-designed the center. We wanted it to be a world-class center, and at the same time, we wanted it to be cost-effective. I won't bore you with the detail, but the way it turned out to be, it actually stood out for Unilever. So much so that after the center was completed, I got a personal appreciation from Paul Polman, who is the CEO of Unilever at that point in time, and Jean-Marc Huet, who was the CFO of Unilever at that point in time. This is a tiny center in India. And I got promoted after that role. So the value that you bring to the table is depending on the value that you generate and how you are able to make a difference to what is on your plate. So I want to leave you with a small equation here. 50 plus 50 equal to 0 and 2 plus 2 equal to 100. There may be multiple occasions where I again want to go back to my son who wants to study physics and keeps berating me for my finance profession. So I want to say that there are many times where the Newton's second law of physics does not apply. Sometimes the acceleration cannot result in the force and vice versa. So there may be many opportunities in life where 50 plus 50 may land at 0, and there may be many opportunities in life where 2 plus 2 may be equal to 100, and you have to create those 2 plus 2 equal to 100. The third one I want to talk about is the safety net. We all are blessed with a certain safety net, all of you, and especially for accountants, we are absolutely the non-risk-taking people. You have to believe that we are the people that stop every organization from progressing. Every proposal we will say no. Every approval we will say no. In fact, I have been taught that if you don't want a proposal to move, don't say yes, don't say no, do nothing. Eventually it will die down. We are that kind of people. And if you look at all of you, you all are not that like us. You're all risk-taking. I'm 100% sure you will be entrepreneurs, intrapreneurs one day. The one learning I want to leave here is that all of you have the privilege of the safety net. Now, are you able to unlearn that privilege and work as though there is no safety net? So I want to take a small example here, which is the life of Reet Abraham. She's a Arjuna Award winner, and I had the opportunity to listen to her a little while earlier, and she spoke about how when she was practicing going for the nationals in the 70s and the 80s, they had absolutely no infrastructure. And not having that fallback, not having that infrastructure, not having that ability to do something else, really pushed her to go full in. One last point I want to leave here is that while the privilege is the safety net, also please respect the privilege. There is no need to be a bully. There is no need to be that entrepreneur that berates everyone around and wants to make a toxic culture, because you are capable of something much more beautiful. So my last concept is about change. Now, when I started as an accountant, our concept of change was that every time you do something that makes your process 10%, 20%, 50% better. So we moved from accounting to ERP to some sort of automation. So every time we said, oh, we have arrived because we have made a change. But if you see the change of today, the change of today is in geometric progression. It is doing something completely different. Now there was this problem called protein folding. It was an unsolved problem for biochemists, and it wasn't solved for 50 years. And every year they will run a contest called CASP, and they will bring all the biochemists. And in 2018, AlphaFold from DeepMinds came and participated in that contest and actually solved the problem. That means something that the scientists were dealing with for 50 years got solved. And that is the type of change we are talking about, which means that the jobs that you are going to do and the problems that you are going to solve are going to be unrelated to the skills that you have, but they're going to be related to what you are able to bring. So I'm told that a lot of people that work in Jane Street are not necessarily investment bankers in the true sense, but they are physicists and computer scientists, and those are the people that are building investment banking algorithms. Burnout is real. Everybody spoke about it. I just want to leave one small thing on the burnout. 2nd of September 2025, 4 days back, a colleague of mine, extremely young, very energetic fellow. We, as Narayana, run the largest cardiac facility in the country. He collapsed right outside our hospital. We had the best of the doctors, best of the equipment, best of everything. Burnout is real. Pankaj spoke about it, eat, sleep. But I want to add one more thing to it, which our founder, Dr. Dev Shetty, always says, know your numbers. Please look at do a medical checkup. Please know your numbers and build your health. Now finally, the accountant. We started with the curious case of the missing accountant. We found her, but in a transformed form. She no longer is someone who's counting numbers. Maybe my successor will not be an accountant, will not be someone who will be a traditional person with accountancy training, but will be someone who will know how to use accounting for the benefit to create value for business. So the last line I want to leave you with is, are you able to unlearn the what of everything you have learned and relearn the how of everything you need to do? Thank you for this opportunity.